November 6th, 1996.
This alleged behavior violates our code of conduct, our core values, and the law.
Allegations of racism at one of America's largest corporations. Secret recordings of senior executives using racial slurs and possibly orchestrating a cover-up in a discrimination case.
If you shred this thing and any other restricted versions like it, what do we need shit to go back to meeting? We don't.
Tonight, an unvarnished look into one company's executive offices, the Texaco tapes. Our live guest, the chairman of Texaco.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Corporate discrimination can be a very tough thing to prove, and the bigger the corporation, the tougher it can be. In this day and age, after all, every major company in the country issues printed guidelines that preach equal opportunity. Each such company has its managers and executives attend diversity training sessions and proclaims its commitment to hiring and promoting minorities and women. But what companies preach and promise and claim is not always what they do. Example. On May 27, 1993, Robert W. Ulrich, then the treasurer of Texaco, Inc., issued a memo on the subject of equal opportunity. He quoted from a company document called Visions and Values. Each employee deserves respect and dignified treatment without regard to race, religion, sex, age, national origin, handicap, or position in the company. Mr. Ulrich attached a booklet which spelled out Texaco's many programs that demonstrate this commitment. And then he added, "I believe wholeheartedly in the principles and programs described in this booklet." Couldn't be clearer, could it? A little over a year later, though, at a closed meeting called to discuss a racial discrimination suit being brought against Texaco, a senior company executive is quoted as saying, "I'm still having trouble with Hanukkah. Now we have Kwanzaa. Effing niggers, they shitted all over us with this." The executive in question? Robert W. Ulrich, Texaco's treasurer. We know this to be true because the meeting was taped. Nightline correspondent Chris Bury has the story.
Since Americans started driving, Texaco has been a familiar fixture on the landscape. The man with the star.
Oh, we're the men of Texaco. We work from Maine to Mexico. There's nothing like this Texaco of ours.
But behind Texaco's friendly public face lies a corporate culture that many African-American employees have long found hostile and racist.
There were meetings that I was in attendance. We would get into the meeting and there would be comments to say, okay, we can start the meeting now because we have our token black here.
I was called uppity. I was called a smart-mouthed little colored girl. When you're walking down the hall and you see that there's nothing but white males that occupy these offices, and rarely do you see any women or minorities, you know that there's a problem somewhere along the line.
In March 1994, a lawsuit was filed on behalf of nearly 1,500 African-American employees. They claimed Texaco not only discriminated against them in promotions, but also punished those who complained. From the beginning, Texaco consistently denied any pattern of racism and vigorously defended its corporate policies. Texaco launched a public relations counterattack, telling the press, "We are dedicated to equal opportunity in employment and promotion practices," telling employees and shareholders the company firmly believes that African Americans have not been discriminated against, a posture the company maintained even after the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission found that Texaco was unlawfully discriminating against its black employees.
There seems to be a pattern that runs through these responses. How would you characterize that?
Baloney.
Michael Hausfeld is the lead attorney in the lawsuit against Texaco.
This is a company that truly tries to hide behind its policy. It puts out a written statement and thinks that that writing absolves it of any liability for any of its acts. It tries to distinguish between, well, this is what I said, but this is what I really do.
In September, the lawyers got what they believe is a smoking gun. Secretly taped minutes of a high-level meeting at Texaco's New York headquarters in August 1994. Texaco's then treasurer, Robert Ulrich, is heard discussing the lawsuit with David Keogh, a senior assistant treasurer, and Richard Lundwall, a senior personnel coordinator, who recorded their conversation.
They're perpetuating an us-them atmosphere.
On the tapes provided to Nightline by lawyers in the class action lawsuit and enhanced for audio quality, the executives clearly appear to be describing Texaco's African-American employees as black jelly beans.
I've heard that diversity thing. You don't have black jelly beans agree. That's funny. All the black jelly beans seem to be going to the bottom of the bag. You can't just have we and them. You can't have black jelly beans and other jelly beans. Yeah. Doesn't work. But they're perpetuating the black jelly beans.
Later, the same executives are heard making racist remarks about Texaco employees who celebrated the African-American holiday of Kwanzaa.
When they come in with these Africans, I used to go that one this year out of curiosity. I walked out during, when they did their version, when they sat during hours, quote, listen to me, hours, as though they're not included, and stood for their modified one. And I would apologize to nobody for walking out of there. I really would not. Not doing that too freaking national anthem. I was struggling with Hanukkah, and now I had
It's not the language itself it's the context that the language is in. These executives were using these terms and these words in normal conversation. There was no strain, there was no looking over your shoulder, there was no attempt to whisper. This was the way they felt.
If upper-level management feel that it's okay for them to talk like that, by all means, everybody else is going to feel free, to talk about blacks in that way also.
The racial slurs heard on the tapes, as offensive as they are, may not be the worst of it for Texaco. Those same executives are also heard making plans to hide and destroy evidence in the lawsuit. The FBI has now taken custody of the tapes as part of a new criminal investigation. Robert Ulrich, Texaco's treasurer at the time, then appears to suggest withholding incriminating documents.
We're going to purge the shit out of these books, so we're not going to have anything that leads them that we don't need to need.
Since the story first broke in Monday's New York Times, Texaco has been battered from all quarters. Today in San Diego, a civil rights group called for a nationwide boycott. In the stock market, Texaco shares lost about $1 billion in value before recovering a bit today. Big institutional investors like the controller of New York State, holding more than $100 million of Texaco stock, are demanding answers.
We lost several $1 million when this became public. I think that the pressure from the marketplace is the pressure that really makes a difference here.
I want to offer an apology.
This afternoon, Texaco's chairman, appearing contrite, announced he was suspending 2 executives and cutting off retirement benefits to 2 others.
I am sorry for this incident. I pledge to you that we will do everything in our power to heal the painful wounds that the reckless behavior of those involved have inflicted on all of us.
For the African-American employees suing Texaco, that apology may be welcome, but beside the point. They are seeking $100 million in damages and back pay. For those employees, the Texaco tapes validate their worst suspicions. For the rest of us, they provide a rare window into how racism survives, even thrives, at the very top. This is Chris Bury for Nightline in Washington.
When we come back, we'll be joined live by Texaco's chairman, Peter Bourgeois.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Toyota Avalon.
It moves with grace, effortless. It is the American-built flagship of Toyota. With a spacious interior and all the roominess of an endless horizon. Avalon, experience the tranquility.
If you're ready to do business on the internet, and you're wondering where to start, then the fastest growing internet provider in America invites you to get on board. Now, no matter what size your business is, AT&T makes it easy to catch the wave.
Everybody loves a wedding, but what about this or this? Same-sex marriage, joy, tears, controversy. Turning Point, Thursday on ABC.
There are always low fares when you fly to frontier towns, and here's proof. Fly Frontier and see how much service a low airfare can buy. Seats are limited, restrictions apply. For a low airfare to Denver and beyond, check these numbers. Always low fares to every frontier town. That's the spirit.
The spirit of frontier.
The flu bug's vast, cool, unsympathetic plots against our health.
Hold on a second. No, wait a minute.
Armies of flu bugs have been sighted gathering all over Puget
Flu
Sound.
season already.
Yeah, we got all our shots yesterday.
Really? Where'd you go?
Check Medical. You know how fast and easy they are. I got the whole family done in, well, one shot.
But was it expensive?
No, very affordable.
Huh. Well, I guess the whole family has somewhere to go tomorrow.
Yeah, just take them down. It'll only take
Check Medical, when and where you need us.
Joining us now live from our New York studios, Peter Bourgeois is a 30-year veteran of Texaco and has been its chairman and chief executive officer since last July. There are times when it's tough at the top. This must be one of them.
Ted, good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss these very serious issues.
What are we talking about here when we talk about these serious issues? Are we talking about a few rotten apples, a few executives who seem to have lost their way? Or, as some of your African-American colleagues seem to feel, are we talking about a corporate culture or maybe vestiges of what may once have been a corporate culture but still quite pervasive?
I'd like to think we are talking about a few rotten apples. This is an unbelievably incredible situation for our company, for our employees, our African-American employees in particular. It's outrageous that any employee of the company would say the kinds of things that the employees on that tape said, and we consider it to be intolerable.
I know what you'd like to think, and it's perfectly understandable that you would, but I'm asking you, what do you really think? You've been around that corporation for 30 years. Times have changed, attitudes have changed over those 30 years. The oil industry in particular was a largely white, male-dominated industry for many, many years, continues to be to a large extent today. To what degree is there still a corporate culture which makes it difficult to accept the notion that people of color and women are going to rise to the top?
I can tell you, Ted, in Texaco, there is no corporate culture that precludes or prohibits women or minorities from moving up in the corporation.
On paper?
Not only on paper, in fact. We have excellent statistics with respect to the women and minorities that are moving up in our company. We're very proud of the fact that we have done that, and our employees believe firmly in the importance of minorities and women rising through the corporation.
Mr. Bourgeois, you know that a couple of years ago, your colleagues over at Mobil Oil did an industry-wide survey of the top 7 companies, your own included, and found that Texaco ranked at the very bottom when it came to the salaries that it paid African Americans, to the level to which African Americans were able to rise in the company. So within your own industry, that is within the oil industry, Texaco hasn't been doing very well.
Well, we may not have been doing very well, Ted, when that survey was done, but I'm pleased to be able to report to you tonight and to the American people that, in fact, since that point in time, as of 1995, Texaco was in the very top quartile within our industry of the percentage of women and minorities in all phases of the workforce, including the managers and supervisors level. So we've made a change.
Who made that change?
The company made the change. It was the management of the company and the employees of the company who are dedicated to see to it that people have an opportunity to achieve their own career goals and aspirations.
Earlier on, I sort of interjected on paper when you were talking about the company policy toward racial minorities and toward women, in the sense that it is quite clear that on paper, at least insofar as company regulations are concerned and the kind of pamphlets that are put out, you're saying all the right things. But who, Mr. Bajor, actually implements those things? Who is responsible for going out into the company and checking to see to it that these policies, which are so beautifully enunciated, are actually carried forth?
It's the management's responsibility from the supervisory ranks right up through my job in the company. We go out and we check, we look at the departments and the divisions of the corporation, and we monitor their performance in promoting minorities and women within their organizations.
Well, how is it possible then that as recently as literally only 2 summers ago, senior executives at Texaco were able not only to engage in the kind of conversation of which we've just heard parts, but also believe that it's perfectly appropriate for them to take whatever documentation was being sought in discovery by people bringing suit against Texaco and shred it, get rid of it?
I have to tell you, Ted, it is incredible to me and to 99 9/10% of the Texaco employees that any managers or executives within our company had the gall, the intolerance, the insensitivity to say the things that they said.
I noticed while we were listening to Chris Bury's piece, it seemed to be quite painful to you to hear the comments of some of the black women at the beginning of the program who are Texaco employees, who are making charges that have absolutely nothing to do with this particular case. We're going to take a short break now. When we come back, I'd like you to respond to them and to their perception of Texaco. We'll be back in a moment.
Preserving the money you've made over the years is a never-ending war of attrition. All the forces of man and nature will conspire against you and chip steadily away at everything you've worked for. Your best defense is vigilance. Your best ally is a trusted financial consultant. Hire one with a passion for the work. It could make all the difference.
Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
Shoo, vermin. I am Fifth Avenue. And even though I live amongst debutantes and celebrities, things are dull. Oh, look, another tourist. Is there no relief from this monotony? What's this?
The all-new ES300. The road is calling. Answer it.
Ah, something worthy of my asphalt.
Tomorrow, what happens when you're pushed to the edge by strangers? Do you blow up? Do you get your way? How to fight right?
That's tomorrow
on Good Morning America.
Well, this is it. This is where we start.
Finally. Just the two of us, alone.
The big picture.
It's the little things. Let's be kids again. Seize the day.
Plan for the future.
Whether you're starting out or starting over, everyone's at home with Ethan Allen. Come in and see what's on sale.
Time is precious.
What's the rush?
10 years ago, Ken Griffey Jr. was 15. A guy named Bill Gates put his little software company on the stock exchange. And KOMO TV made a commitment to kids. We called our commitment For Kids' Sake, a campaign to keep Northwest kids happy, healthy, and safe. Things sure have changed in 10 years, but not our commitment to children. In fact, it's grown, a huge part of what KOMO TV stands for, and will stand for, well into the next decade. For Kids' Sake.
We've got two of Primetime's hottest hunks ahead on the next Live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Coming up, one of the most eligible bachelors on television.
You want to be a father, and you're not so sure about being a husband.
MacGyver star Richard Dean Anderson talks about his juicy personal life.
I'll just vent here, shall I?
Yeah.
Then it's a dark and mysterious side of Baywatch star David Hasselhoff, plus another world record breaker on the next Live.
Watch Regis and Kathy Lee tomorrow morning at 9.
And we're back live once again with Texaco Chairman Peter Bajur. Let me just read you again to refresh your memory what three women said at the beginning of this broadcast. There were meetings, said Marcia Harris, that I was in attendance, and there would be comments, okay, we can start the meeting now because we have our token black here. Then Barry Ellen Roberts. I was called uppity. I was called a smart-mouthed little colored girl. Then Veronica Chenault. When you're walking down the hall and you see that there's nothing but white males that occupy these offices, and rarely do you see a woman or minorities, you know there's a problem somewhere along the line. You really seem to be in some pain when you were listening to those comments, but the question here is, to what degree are they fair comments?
Well, first of all, Ted, it hurts me deeply to see the faces of those women and the hurt that I know they're feeling. It is reprehensible for people to have their self-respect denied by comments that are made in an insensitive manner by people, whether it's in our company or anywhere in this nation. I'm sure that if they say those comments were made, that they were made. I am going to do everything in my power within this company to root that out. And we are going to take steps immediately within the company to see to it that every individual that works for us understands that any remarks like that are not tolerated within Texaco.
Let me get away, and I realize this is the kind of question that is probably going to make your lawyers cringe, but, you know, one way to put the old chapter behind you and to clearly signal the beginning of a new chapter is to say, clearly, injustices were done. Let's settle the damn lawsuit, get it out of the way, and move on. And quite frankly, when your stock has lost whatever it is now, $800 million in value over